Welcome, Marco, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Xandria, this new album, and more related to the metal world. Also, we're starting, I think, with a common question because I saw that in this 2020, from the last year 2022, there you changed full lineup because Tim, Dimitro, Rob, and Amber entered the band in the last year. So what happened to do this complete change in Xandria?
I just needed a complete new start for the band. I needed a new environment to write new songs and to release them. That was really necessary for me because it didn't work out anymore.
Okay. So into this aspect, I saw that if you are the last member from Xandria since 1994, so next year the band will celebrate perhaps the 30 years of existence. So perhaps you have some 30 years anniversary DVDs. So no, perhaps you have some plans for the next year.
Yeah, not really. 94 is just the year when I started to make music with a friend of mine, but it was not really the beginning of the band, you know. Like Xandria, as people know it, like for the debut album, started around the late 90s. And in 94, it's just like I started going towards that way, you know. So you cannot really define like what is actually the year that Xandria started to exist, because it was like an evolvement. So yeah, so there's nothing planned. Maybe I'll meet with that old friend that I was having jam sessions back then, and we will have a glass of nice wine together. I don't know.
Great. Okay. So into this aspect that you are the last member, so what kind of experience, what kind of anecdotes do you have since the beginning to now? Because you saw all like lineup changes, you saw all you live all eras in Xandria.
That's true. Do you have like 3 or 4 hours of time? Because that will take a lot. Yeah, that's really difficult to answer. You know, there was so much going on. It was like a whole roller coaster of ups and downs, and so many experiences on the way, like good ones and also like bad situations. But you learn from these, of course, and it's necessary to go through to at some point arrive where you are now.
Yeah. Okay. So. If we compare the sound from the last album from Xandria, the Theater from Dimensions, now with the Wonders Still Awaiting, for you, what are the biggest differences exist right now? Because you have a full lineup, you are now in charge of 4 compositions. Because in the last one, in the previous album, Diane was in charge from songs to compose the songwriting.
She wrote some of the lyrics, yes, but not of the music.
Okay.
I think some vocal lines in 1 or 2 of the songs, but it's not like complete songs or something like that. Of course, we were all working together on the songs, but it's mostly was the lyrical part. Like the biggest part of the music always came from me. I cannot really tell you what exactly are the differences, because I have not been thinking about that much. I was just writing this new album that we are releasing now without having the last album in mind at all. It was not something I was thinking about. So the new songs just came naturally. I wanted just to follow what the inspirations and the moods were leading me, and this is what came out of it. And I think I would just like to leave it up to the people to compare it to former Xandria albums. I don't know much what to exactly tell you there, to be honest.
No, okay. So can we say that The Wonders Still Awaiting was composed and written during the pandemic, or perhaps was during the last session from the Theater of Dimensions?
No, there was nothing left over from the last album's writing session. It's all very new ideas that are on the new album that has nothing to do with music that was there before. in the creation process. I mean, I started writing songs like, I think maybe I had first ideas like 3 years ago or something, and it was a long process since then to just let ideas grow, to work on the music, to record demos for it for myself to see how they sound. Yeah. So, but it's all ideas that were new at that time. I did not take any leftovers from before.
Mm. Okay. Now, well, the band started their career when, as you said, this in 2003. No, but the original, as you told, the first time when you create some songs is in 1994. So, well, if we're going to do more deep into this aspect, because since 1994 2003, there are things like the 10 years that you release your first album. So why did you decide to delay 10 years?
Yeah, like I said, it was in 94 that I started meeting with a friend. He was playing the drums, and we were meeting in the garage of his parents, because we were both teenagers at that time. We were both living at our parents' places still. So we were meeting once or twice a week, starting to just jam together. And at that time, there was already one song. It's the song called "So You Disappear." It was the first song that we wrote there at the time, and it was later also on the debut album "Kill the Sun" in 2003, but it was undergoing a lot of changes in the time in between, because there was a lot of things happening. Like first, this drummer and me, we were just working on some musical ideas. We were finding some other musicians to form a band, and then we split up because we were not on the same page. And then I was working on songs for quite some time, like 2 years on my own. And then I looked for new musicians in the end of the 90s to form a new band in which I completely can follow my own musical visions and not having like competing musical ideas of members that are just, they're coming like from the friend surrounding, because it's all gets a bit random. There's sometimes it works because all 3, 4, or 5 musicians have the same idea, and then it just works. But in that case, it was not working. So at that time, after that, I was just looking for musicians that would just follow the visions that I had in mind, that we would record songs together and maybe then also play some concerts, which we did. And in that time, someone who was working at Drakkar Records was finding us on a website in which we were presenting our songs, and that's how we got our first record deal with Drakkar Records in 2002. And then it was just a few months later that we recorded our first album. So that was leading all the way from 94 to 2003 when the debut album came out. It was quite a long way, but yeah.
Okay. Well, then the next question goes in a way that you compose the things. So what do you see in a woman's voice in music and not in a man's voice?
That's a funny question. I think all of us know immediately the difference and how it makes us feel. That would require quite some analysis right now. I think it just sounds different. It has the interesting thing. It's actually the other way around. That nowadays we find some things in both male and female voices, which is like screams and growls, which is kind of a new development. Not that new, because I think it was already in the early 2000s that Arch Enemy had a female growler with Angela. But they were quite alone with that for a long time. And nowadays we have actually a lot of bands with female singers who scream and growl. which is very interesting, very nice. People starting to get used to it. And it's great that both male and female singers can do everything with their voices nowadays, and people love it. And this is something which I also really love about Alm's voice, that she can do all of these different things. So as a songwriter, I just can like pull every trick that I want, and she will just do it. You know, like I can for each part I get with her singing on it, I get what the part was intended for. Like it gets growls if it was intended to be really intense and dark and heavy, and it gets like her beautiful, more pop rock voice for other parts, and then there's also still a few parts in which she is doing some operatic style stuff with her vocals. So yeah, that's really nice to have.
Okay. Well, since the beginning, 2003, there are now 20 years of existence of the band with the first album. Talking about from this, you played with with Amber, you play with 4 vocalist women. Well, from women. So into the Diane, Amber, Manuela, the first one. So when you select a new female fronted, so what do you see? How do you select the exactly voice for a woman for the sound of Xandria?
It was in each time when we had to look for a new vocalist, we were doing it in a different way. You know, it's not like we were always searching for the same thing, which you can clearly hear now, as it's not sounding exactly the same as it sounded before. Because I always also evolve as a songwriter. You know, like for the Never Will's End album back then, I wanted that kind of that classical voice. Because this is just what I wanted to do as a songwriter. And now I wanted to do a little bit more than that. I wanted to still do that a bit, but I also wanted to do other things. So of course, this time I had different directions for that. Like when I was, when I was having a new voice in mind for Xandria. But I didn't have to search anyway, because I knew Amber already, and I knew what her voice can do. So for me, it was pretty clear when I was having the first new song ideas for Xandria, and I knew what kind of voice I wanted to have, that she would be really, really, really fitting for that. So that also came together quite naturally. So there was not much of a process of okay, I got to come up with a search profile or something like that, you know.
Okay. Well, talking about the subject of living influence and feeling, what happens? You say that when you create new music, what happens internally and externally for the musician when you create new music? So into this aspect, many musicians say that they don't have direction when writing music, and carry away by the feelings that they have in the moment when they create the music, the song, the album, EP, etc. So for you, how do the parts of producing an album connect with the idea of sensation of it? Could we say that the music is a concept thinking, or is a concept not thinking?
Yeah, as a songwriter and the producer and musician at the same time, I have to do all of that, which is sometimes a bit difficult. Because you have to let your emotions flow free, and then you need to form it with your mind. So actually, that's the way of doing it. Like the song ideas for this new album, they just came naturally. There was not a plan or a strategy of how it should sound all together in the end. But at some point, of course, there were some ideas on the table, and I was sorting them, and I was thinking about how to put them together. And this is, of course, a more conscious way of putting stuff together, and to give all the feelings that are in these ideas the right focus, you know, the right process of putting them into music that you can listen to, so the feelings is still preserved in it. This is really important for me. And that is also why I was producing that album by myself, because I wanted to have this kind of safety, that I just know that in each step of the process I can preserve the feelings that are in the music.
Okay. Well, talking about from this new album, you released until now 3 singles. So for that, in a world where more and more singles are important to promote an album, where we are living the cyclic time, because the 40s and 50s, the music spread just by singles, no? So how was the process?
Yes.
So how was the process to select these singles with an album of many sensations? Because I listen a lot of this new album. I have a lot of textures, flavors. It's the metal music. It's always since the 70s is the way when the music, when you hear the first album from Black Sabbath, all albums from metal have a lot of sensations. So it was your idea to pick these singles, or perhaps the label?
It's interesting to say that, because many people wonder why bands are coming up with more singles nowadays, and of course the reason is the new distributing forms of music nowadays, with the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, whatever comes to your mind. For that, people want to, I think, have their songs in a focus. I think it's also the reason is that you have a number of songs. I think it's 5 that the band can of one album, can kind of pitch as a single on Spotify, and then they are entitled to be in playlists. So bands and record labels want to do that with 5 songs, so they can use that kind of opportunity to let their music be known to more people through those kind of playlists. For me, it's a little bit difficult to think about it that way, because for me, each song of the album should be listened to the people, and I'm a little bit concerned about that, like the value of a full album, and our album is a long one. It's just 13 songs. It's almost 75 minutes long. That people will appreciate it from the start to the end, like in full length, because each song deserves it. Each song is different. It's a very diverse album, and it's not just 3-4 singles and the rest is filler material. That's not the way we think. And so I hope that people, even if they are mostly listening music on streaming platforms nowadays, that they give the whole album a listen. And we chose these singles also to give people a little bit of an overview of what they can expect on the album, like that, to show them that it's a diverse album and that there's even more to explore.
Okay, well, that's right. And to this aspect, you say that now the digital platforms are constantly the new way to hear music, especially for the new generations. So what is your opinion as a producer? Because you're a producer, you produce music, you're a musician, but now there is the tool for one of the more important tools now is the digital aspects. So do you think the digital aspect came to, is good or is bad for the music in general?
Yeah, as you said, music and not musician. It makes a little bit of a difference, but maybe not in the end. Because the problem is that musicians don't get rewarded for it very much through the streaming platforms. And if you want to dedicate your whole life to music, you have to make a living from something, and so it gets a bit difficult. And first for the musician, and in the end, maybe even for the music, because if as a musician you cannot focus completely on doing music, the music will maybe suffer from it at some point, or you can just not create as much music as you could. if I think about experience music on a streaming platform, I find it a little bit difficult that people listen to single songs more. Like you have these, you go to a band's page or whatever it's called on Spotify, and then you see in the list like these are the most popular songs of that band. And if people want to get to know a band, they listen to these. So it's kind of someone is deciding for you what you have to listen to get to know a band. I find it a bit difficult because in times before, we have all been going to CD shops, we have been buying a full album, and we have been listening through it because we spent money for the full album, you know. So we got to know the band as a whole, like what they want to do, not just the 1-2 singles or the songs that you find in the most popular songs. Maybe this is not representing a band really. And this I find a bit difficult.
Okay. Well, in the next question, you have both opinions, because what do you think of bands that continue producing monthly, weekly, daily, or year by year or annually? So with the idea of not disappearing from the media, because that's the new movement. So you say, well, you saw into the digital platform that the bands are create songs, albums each day, year. So for not disappearing for the media, well, as a musician, it's normally that you want to create more music. But as a producer, you have the different point, because sometimes this aspect to create a lot of music during the years, months, or days are too saturated for the band, and the people sometimes get tired for this new music each day, each month, each year.
Okay, yeah, I was not seeing yet that people get tired of it too much, because obviously the bands who do a lot of marketing on social media, it works for them, you know. It's not like it's not working, because those bands who do a lot of marketing, and there's a lot of probably money from the record label spent in these kind of things too. It works for them, they're successful. But for me, it's not really, it's not the motivation. I think if it turns around, if music is just something you create to feed the marketing on social media, I think that you are in a complete wrong way then. You should not, for me, that I would stop then. That's really not what I would want to do. I want to create music because of the music. I want to write an album because I want to create music, and not to follow some marketing strategy on social media or whatever the record label or the management comes up with. This is, and it goes even worse when people, you know, when the marketing goes that far that that bands don't even have the time anymore to write their own music, and then some others are writing the music. I think then it goes in a very strange direction for me. And this is also what's happening nowadays in the metal scene, unfortunately. It's of course, it's something that we know from pop music, like from decades, you know, that they are just artificial pop artists who just are being made by record labels and managements. And then there are some songwriters who write the songs for them, and there's none of their own personality in it. It still can be, you know, it still can be a funny party song, like to dance to, which is fine. You know, not every music needs to be super deep. But if it starts getting this way of creating music, like for marketing reason, if it gets into music genres that you expect to be authentic and honest, I think then it's going in a little bit the wrong direction. And this is something that I will always try to avoid, because I would just feel bad, you know. It's not, I need my music to be real.
Okay. Well, the next question is one of the last ones. So Well, so as a producer, as a musician, what is you said one thing about the artificial, but if we relate with the bueno, well, when the new movement, the artificial intelligence, as you can see now, there's a technology that create arts. When you put a little description in the box, in this art creates some piece of art, etc. But now the arts, now the artificial intelligence is more present with the music because you can do all by yourself with the drum machine, bass machine, keyboard machines, etc. machines. What I create when you just get a directions to the machines and you create by own yourself your music. Now it's possible with the artificial intelligence. So as a producer and a musician, how do you see the future of the music industry with this new technology are now more present into the arts?
Yeah, of course, then you are not the creator anymore if you let a computer create your songs. It can maybe something funny to play around with, but it would not feel like it's the music that you did on your own. This is a whole different thing. But it's a different. Of course, you can program drums. You can even program guitars nowadays. It's and bass. You can do a lot of things with samples, with very far developed and evolved tools in music production nowadays, but practically nothing of it writes the music or creates the melody for you. It helps you to bring it to life if the idea comes from your mind, and you can use these tools to bring that idea to life. This is, of course, what we do nowadays, but it crosses a line, of course, if it's if there's another mind, if it's artificial or not, but it's not yours, then that's just what you have to acknowledge, of course. So if you want to write music from your own heart, you will do it on your own still.
Oh, okay. So we are very close to this interview with Marco, and for that, what are the future plans that the band has for this new album? Perhaps European tour next couple months, perhaps a North American tour in the next couple months, next year, who knows? Or who knows, a full Latin American tour in the next year, perhaps in the coming years, or perhaps more videos. Who knows?
That would be really great. So I invite every South American promoter to organize a tour for us. Please call me, because we want to come back to South America. Really, we had a few tours there already in the past, and it was always a great experience. The people are so great. The concerts were always a big celebration of music together, and it's so great to go there and learn about the countries, the culture, the people. And this is something that we really want to do again.
Okay. Well, Marco, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoy this one like me doing this one. You are a terrific guy. So congratulations for the last album.
Thank you.
It's a great one. Perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metalerum followers?
Yeah, sure. I want to thank all of you there for the year-long support. It's also through the time when we are not active, it was always great to hear from people that they still appreciate the music of Xandria, and this is also was giving us a lot of energy to come back. So thank you for that.